All right, we're live. We're live. Are you live?
I'm very alive.
Are you? No, but are you live though?
Am I? Oh, I'm not showing live yet. 1 second.
All right. Well, it's a human condition. We've been on for a minute.
And the virtual condition.
The virtual condition. Virtually what? Virtually not ready to. So we're testing a new system. Ms. Solzba here is going to be running the show from here on out. So you're
Not including today.
not including. Well, she doesn't want to take credit for this one, but so you're not going to see me. I know most of you enjoyed, whoever's watching right now. We just popped this one on you, but whoever's watching right now, I know you enjoyed me fumbling around in the first 10-15 minutes of every episode trying to figure out the tech. She's probably going to kill that, so you can blame her for us getting right to the point.
At least we'll have a new culprit.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'll be able to blame somebody. But so today is it's part two of what I didn't know was going to be a series, ketamine, quantum physics, and the birth of my son. The last time we did an episode on that, I was pretty rattled still. You know, I back at that time, I wasn't letting people, well, it's not that I wasn't letting them, but I was very passionate about what I was going through with Vinny. And I was very talkative to the point where some of the guests may not have gotten a word in edgewise. That happens. So anyway, today we want to revisit that. Since that time, we have we did the Floresta retreat together. You did ketamine had it administered for the first time through a therapist in a Shannon's on right now. This is who we're waiting for. This is our guest of honor. We're gonna let her get in and say her piece, and then you know, she's only got about a half hour, so and then we'll get back to our experience. But
There she is.
there she is. There she almost is. She's connecting the audio right now.
She's virtually here.
She's virtually here.
There we go.
Hi, everybody.
And there she is.
Hi, Shannon.
How are you?
Good. It's so good to see both of you.
Good to see you too. In Colorado right now?
I'm in Colorado. I'm on the road.
Are you? On your way back here?
Yeah, I'll be back to New York in a few days doing a retreat there, and then I'm gonna pop up to Michigan. So yeah, going global.
Yeah, let's get right into that. So the one in Michigan is the 12th, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be at a location called the Red Poppy, and it's August 12th to the 14th.
12th to the 14th. So we shared a little bit of information, just basic information for them to get in touch with Floresta. Get on a call with Eugene. There's a few people on here that have already expressed interest individually. But so me and Amber came into the fold with you guys. We knew about the inaugural retreat. We didn't make that one, but we did for the second one after a missed flight, and we decided to drive out to New York, and it was amazing. It was an amazing time. But
That's right.
so how have you evolved, and what have you seen come to fruition since that inaugural retreat, even since the second retreat? What have you seen come to life?
Yeah, because we're gearing up for our 11th retreat now. So there's been a lot of changes. At this point, it's been a lot more of fine tuning. But I'm finding there to be this really beautiful synergy that, of course, we receive with the ketamine administration and creating that to be a really seamless experience and preparation, and allowing people to come in feeling safe and having all their answers met as much as they can, because we're exploring the unknown. But I find the space of the integration to be really special. And I love playing and tweaking and trying different ways of integrating, whether it's through dance, different ways of doing small group therapy, big group therapy, different things that are more, working with the body and tapping into our capacities of embodiment and what that looks like. And then I always will weave in, what is inspiring me. So a lot of the more energetic healing modalities and our capacities to be in communion with the earth, be in communion with our most expansive sense of self, and then allowing that to continue to expand and tapping into what we know, tapping into our sense of allowance and our capacity of receiving. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like we're allowing this space of change and transformation. As we're choosing that, how much can we receive? And would we be willing to lower our walls and barriers to receive without a point of view as well? So playing in more of those different facets of creating, and with ketamine being in that heightened state of neuroplasticity, really wanting to maximize that. And then as the weather's been getting nicer, allowing us to walk in nature, going on hikes, and even doing like a little bit of the integration outdoors. And so allowing the elements to support that too.
I've noticed that. That's, I've played with all of those things. My story, 2008, it changed my life, and then it's been illegal forever. So I didn't have a therapist until it was about 2-3 years ago, where it started popping up in Michigan more frequently. So I never had the integration part, which I had the profound revelations. Then there were some things that I just didn't know how to deal with from childhood that started coming up. And I'm like, ooh, let me push that back down, because I don't know what to do with that. And so the integration part of this whole journey has been massive. That's why I got back into because it lost its use for me. Like I couldn't do anything with it anymore once I learned how to meditate and get there transcendentally, which is still only rare occasions. But I can do it. I can ground and I can get there. Like I lost, there was no use for the substance anymore, because I didn't have the integration part. The integration part has been massive for me, because, well, number one, there's somebody who takes it seriously. You know what I mean? Like it's not a party drug. Like I didn't even like it back then. That's when I was introduced to it. I said, this is the stupidest thing ever, because I can't even I don't know who's around me when I'm out in public. I'm like, this is dumb. But it wasn't it wasn't what it was used for, right? It was
Setting.
yeah, it was I can't feel my legs. You know what I mean? I was like, well, that's not very fun to me. You know what I mean? So but anyway, I'm sure you get a lot of that where people come in with that experience, and it's not even remotely close to what it is, what it can be in terms of resetting your brain.
Yeah, for people that have had any recreational use, it is a completely different experience. We're laying down, you have an eye mask on, you have music, we're here watching, supporting you. If you need like a hand to hold, we can do that, or any kind of, touch within, reason and consent in that sense, offering that type of space and support for people. And then the preparation and the music is really, allows people to drop in. The music is highly curated to support that. And then being, with the community and everybody coming out of it and having their own intentions and journaling and conversations to decompress. Like I find that's the special sauce, like the community, even like as everyone's having lunch together and talking through things. And then of course in our more formal integration circles, the bonds that people create with each other and the interpersonal support that I witness, it's so beautiful. And I love, like, every single group is so different. Every single group, the people make the energy. It's what inspires me to, how I'm going to facilitate with the group, whether it's leading meditation around what's popping for people, or, how we're going to integrate the different energies that are coming up for everybody.
The circle was probably the
Yeah.
that was a special thing for me, because I'm not a therapist, right? But the interaction with even Amber now on a more she's kind of in that space anyway. Like she's all you're doing is you're taking down walls, right? Where we have access to this as infants. All we're doing is opening up these neural pathways that have, for me, blocked for my entire life. So she's kind of dancing around in that space anyway. And there's been times where I'm having an experience out of therapy, and she's there, And I'm like, how do you know what I just went, like, how are we talking about the same thing? So that's been cool. But then what you guys have brought to the table through Floresta is now, well, now you can sit in a group after the fact. You can sit in a group and you can talk about the experience. For me, it was always foreign. It was something that was mine, and I didn't really get to share it except for in passing. And a lot of times when I would speak about the things that altered my existence, ketamine was left out of the equation because, well, it wasn't legal yet. So I really couldn't talk, you know what I mean? Couldn't talk about it. And I didn't have time to put in the context of all the medical journals I read leading into the psychedelic experience. It was just, that's illegal, you know?
How wonderful that you can share it now more openly.
Eh?
Yeah.
We drove, we missed that flight, and so we missed the first and maybe even the second. We
got
missed
there for the
first.
second.
We missed the first circle, and we got there for the second, and then the
Mhm.
final circle.
Mhm.
And even that, like, we got so much out of those, but it goes to show how much value there is when you know you missed it. You know, like we knew we missed out on something because the group had already bonded and forged their intentions, like shared, become vulnerable together, and with some of them never having done that before, you know, they shared an intention that had to also be surrender. Just, I don't know really what's going to come out of it, and that alone as a group with the other people who might be more experienced, I don't know, I think there's something so precious about that. And then to be able to share on the flip side of something that was a completely new experience, might have shared something with yourself that you never thought possible.
And you still don't know, you know, like it's like any psychedelic experience with ayahuasca, with anything, you know, the people that have been there, because there's commonalities that you can share, but you can never share the individualized experience because it's based on all these things that you've built over time, and the dismantling of those, and it's all based on that. So as much as I can share my experience and somebody may relate to this little snippet that I have, they'll never know what it is to have the out of body experience and stand over my son's high chair and, you know, speak to. Nobody will ever know that, and it'll always seem crazy to somebody outside, but there's people that have had that can say, I know you've been there, you know what I mean? So I don't know if you've seen this new documentary with Michael Polesta, Michael Pollan, yeah, on and he talks about guardianship, and guardianship is massive. Like the fact to be able to feel safe, and just to be able to say things that there's no right or wrong. It's just, this is the experience, this is what I had, to not be judged and then feel safe in that environment.
Yeah.
What you're creating through this is that kind of thing, to where there's no getting it right. You can't get it right. Just be honest about what you experience, and then try to make. I'm still trying to make sense of things that, you know, I can't because, you know, when you get to that transcendental space where there's no mind, you don't ask questions anymore. That's the ego. The ego wants to know things. Like, my higher self knows, like, I'm already connected. But so it's my ego trying to figure out I got to know the answers. You don't. You're connected, and that's what this does, and that's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, it's really a state of being. And for a lot of clients, what I hear is it might be the first time that they ever perceived no thought, perceived, you know, a sense of calm. And what's beautiful about this too is really, you know, yes, you have the experience, and I find that to be incredibly powerful. Then it's how is it implemented in one's life. And I hear stories of like, yeah, normally I'm super reactive. I have all this internal thoughts and, you know, irritability. And now there's just a sense of ease and calm. I'm a better listener. I'm a better parent. I'm a better, you know, partner. And to me, that's really, you know, where it shines as well. And it's so fulfilling to be, you know, part of this work where I hear people say, like, this is the thing that totally changed my life. And I wouldn't know where my life would be like if I didn't have these experiences. So I, you know, as someone who's always in question and always looking for treatments and modalities that are going to support people, I never say like ketamine is the answer, or even like psychedelic medicine is like the way. I let, you know, the experience show me. I let the people that I speak with show me, and I choose it, and I offer it because I hear so much how much it's really benefiting people. And I continue to show up and facilitate these retreats for that reason.
Shannon, I'm curious, have you seen, like, since you began, so it's been, your retreats have been going on for at least a year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just about that. So
Mhm.
congratulations.
Thank you. No.
Have you noticed that you've been able to reach a broader and broader audience of, let's say, the types of people who might be attracted to the treatment?
Yeah, I it's like a yes and no, because it's like, it's funny because the way I perceive you asking the question, it's like from here, and it almost feels like just, whoever's choosing it is popping and showing up.
Yeah.
And yeah, there definitely is like an exponentialized space of like people, hey, this was great, you should try it. Then I also just find it's like, different people that have been curious, and, it might just take 6 months for them to choose it, or, so different things like that. But I've had a wide array of people with, showing up more with, stronger depression, stronger anxiety, even, acute suicidal symptoms and trauma that are really showing up. I've had people that have a little bit more of a medical comorbidity space too. And then, other people that are like, look, I'm just, feeling really down and have a lot of stress, and I know there's more out there. And so I've had a, different variety of people choosing it, and it'll fluctuate. This upcoming one actually is going to be predominantly women. We'll see.
In
We
New
haven't done a
York?
week in New York, so
Okay.
maybe we'll get a wave of, men choosing, or those identifying as men choosing. So we'll see. That'll be really cool. I haven't done a group that is, mostly, identifying as female in that sense. So we'll see, where that goes, and I'm sure that's gonna have its own energetic vortex of what we choose and create from that space.
Well, you just said something that's something that we've been dealing with on a real personal level in terms of trans and identification. And I know that's
Yeah.
rather, it's probably not new to you, like, in the way that it's been popularized now. That's a rather new thing. But in terms of, for me, ketamine, my ego was so big. That's why I didn't like it at the club, because I had this perception that I could control my environment 100% of the time. Didn't matter, and I was wrong, right? And I had this perfectionism disease, and so that's what kept me away from it. And then even when I knew, after all the reading I had done and I had satisfied my logical brain, and I knew, I was looking at fMRIs, I was looking at studies in England, and I knew that this was probably for me. I still wouldn't do it because the fear of losing control was just too much for me. And then I had to have my back up against the wall to where
Yeah.
I was receiving signals from my son, who was just born, and I didn't know it was unconditional love. I had no clue that that's what he was hitting me with, and I wanted to run, but I wouldn't. Like, I was refused to be like my dad. So I was like, I'm staying and I'm sticking this out. And then when all else failed, I was like, well, I don't care if I die, right? Like, that's where I was, because if this doesn't work, then nothing's going to work. And it was like I had to throw all caution to the wind, and I had to surrender. And so when it comes to dealing with the trans community, in particular, there's this big fight now, and I know that has to be a place where isolation is heavy. I can relate to isolation, I can relate to alienation in my PTSD. I can't relate to that experience in the same way I can't relate to racism as being a Black man or Black woman in America. I can understand, and I can wrap my brain around it, and I can get close to the abyss, but I can't jump in because I don't live that experience. What has it been like for you dealing with that community? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are at high suicide rate, right? Same as with PTSD. People are coming to you and saying, I don't have nothing else left. What do I do? And is this the answer for me? How has that affected you? I have to plug the computer in. We're listening though.
I'm here.
Amber, don't go.
I'm right here. I'm listening.
I'm just kidding. So yeah, it's actually something I'd really love to address in mental health, and of course with this company, is increasing access. I'm aware that a lot of the participants that do end up coming are, typically white as a majority, and I'd love to just see everyone being able to come and choose it. And so we do offer like scholarships and and different things to make it available. And it's really, not even based on those things. I really just like to make it available to everybody. I'd like everyone to know it, be able to choose it. And for me, I create the retreat just how I, perceive and relate with everyone and everything, which is I really love to not be in a space of definition or conclusion and just be in a space of full allowance. So, whether, any shape, size, color, or however we identify, it's really allowing everyone to get this experience.
Yeah. I'm just thinking how beautiful for that to be something that anyone can access, is also not just the experience of the ketamine itself, but that ability to surrender into a nurturing environment,
guardianship in the
that
community
is a beautiful thing. And so many of us don't have, even under the best of circumstances, if we're behind the drivers or in the driver's seat all the time, like you're talking about, it's a control, being in a controlling state, or feeling that in a fight or flight, or perception of control, but also just not being held by society in that way, simply. So just to have that, almost a cocoon where you can have that for a moment and also release.
Yeah, I love creating a space where it's like every limitation, every barrier, every construct, it's like how much of that is just limiting us from what we can choose and create and actualize in our lives. And with the medicine of ketamine, it's exponentializing that capacity to change and choose. So it's this beautiful reminder of, great, like we're showing up, we're having these beautiful experiences. And then what do we invite into our life now? What are we choosing and creating now, without reference points of anything from the past and any of those limitations that we're coming up against? Great, let's meet it and let's see if we can dissolve it.
It also dissolves being in a state of fear, I found, which is really adjacent to control and being in that state of not feeling nurtured. Like all of those things kind of live in that same bubble. And to be able to go home or be with your family and not be so reactive and all those things, it's also not being in a state of fear against whatever may be coming at you. That's welcome, I think, for everyone right now.
Well, that was the surrender aspect for me. It's like, I didn't want to die, but I had to not care if I lived. You know what I mean? Like I had to get to a point to where I had to jump off that cliff to see if I could fly. Because playing it safe meant that I was going to teeter on the edge for the rest of my life. So I finally just had to take that leap, and it was well, I'll be damned if I'm not going to be a good dad, right? So the antithesis of it was being a bad dad, right? And that was death to me. So I was already dead as far as I'm concerned if I was going to keep going through those flashbacks and not be able to peg what that was. So it was the ultimate, and surrender was given over to that space. And now it's funny because I can walk into that space effortlessly, but I still have, body keeps the score, right? Bessel van der Kolk. So until I read that book, I knew viscerally what it did to me. I made sense to that, and I could navigate that space fairly easily. Doesn't mean I knew everything. When I read that book, I understood for the first time academically what was going on, how neural pathways were being opened. And I started to understand other people. And I knew, okay, well, when you get to a state of fight or flight, or perception that you're perceiving possible fight or flight, you're blocked from logical thought. And I started to understand, well, I can't even have a conversation now. I have to bail out of this conversation because we're now blocked. We're triggered. And to be in a space like this where it's all walks of life. So you asked, how is it changed? Well, you probably see all walks of life all the time because you're seeing people in their darkest moments where they're I need help, right? So they finally got to that point to where someone's either forced them or they've reached out on their own. So you've seen all walks of life anyway, but now you're integrating them into the same space. So when you break down those barriers, this is my perception on the retreat, is when you break down those barriers and you start to not fear anything because you just lived through that, right? Like when you have the psychedelic experience, it literally, it's an anesthetic, so dissociative anesthetic. it rips the senses out of you, which is what happens when you die. Your physical senses are ripped from your body. So all you have is consciousness to exist in. So for all intents and purposes, when I had that out of body experience, I was dead. That's what happens when you die, right? So that's all I had to exist in. And it allowed, when I came back from it, it was like surviving a car accident. It was surviving a suicide. It was surviving whatever. It gave me this whole new interpretation of what the physical realm was. And I still haven't been able to shake that. I don't want to. And it would have taken a lot of drugs and alcohol to be able to deny that experience happened. And if that's being created in the environment that you're setting up for people, and I will say it is for anybody who's listening, this is impromptu, so they'll catch up to it. And I want people to know that, like you said, you don't know what's for them, and you don't know unless you try. But it's safe to try. Like for me, it wasn't safe. I had to go read my own journals and play doctor to myself. And it was scary. I didn't want to inject anything into my muscles. I was scared shitless. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to do anything right. And here it's you have guardianship.
It's gentle. And the language that it's so interesting to hear the language that you use around your experiences. It's very harsh and ripped out of your body.
I love that shit though. I love it.
I know you do, but it's not necessarily the thing that's going to
sell anybody.
Well, or just feel like an invitation of any kind. And that may be some people's experience because of where they start out, right? But I don't remember anyone reflecting that.
Me neither.
So just to clarify,
Yeah.
And it's not all about the doom and gloom side of things either too. Like you can come to it from a very kind of growth, nurturing place in yourself and wanting to know more and be in contact with, you can come at it from a spiritual, expansive place. We all want to be better. I mean, if we're listening to this, we want to be better in some way, or with ourselves, or with the world, or our family, or whomever, our partners.
That would be the goal, though, right? You make it available to everybody. And at 15 years old, you go on a school function that's a ketamine retreat. Honestly, like there's no reason. There's rites of passage. The Sonorans for 5-MeO-DMT. The rite of passage at 13 is you do a ceremony, right? And it breaks down all the stuff that you build. Like what? I know you got to go. You got a hard stop coming up, but
I actually don't have that hard of a stop anymore.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I'll be flexible.
Okay, so what in terms of the availability to the public, to the general public, because I know it's expensive and a lot of people can't afford this. This is what I'd love to see too. This is why I'm available to speak or converse with people for free, and you can come on whenever you want, and we can push this out to whoever. Because I believe in it. It saved my life. So what are your thoughts on the availability in the near future? How's that going, that fight to make it to where insurance covers it? And it's
Yeah, we're working on it. I know someone personally who's really being a strong stand in the legislation of that. And then on my end, I always just say, look, like, talk to me. We'll try and make it work. We do try and have a scholarship fund for people. I don't let money really be the main factor as well. So I try and work with everybody. So I'm like, if you're interested, if you sense that this is going to really contribute to your life, or if you know anybody that you think this would really support them, just have them reach out to me and my team, and always happy to try and make it work.
I'd love to share. What is it? Just the Floresta link in terms of the scholarship?
Yeah, if you go on the website, florestaretreat.com, there's a link where it says book an exploratory call. And I would say just to book that, and then you'll get looped in, and we'll have a conversation, and we'll chat, and we'll have some space just to hear about what you would like to create, what inspires you, and what brings you to Floresta.
Are you so that portion, is that a tax deductible charity? Is that something that if we could pull in donations, we can grab people from this page and let them support it?
So we're not established as a nonprofit or anything like that. It's more just, people offering from whatever they would like to offer, and then us offering it back.
Okay.
So I don't have necessarily the infrastructure in that regard, but more even, and I'll just, offer it, even if it's not something that we have. I'll just say, hey, look, let me give you, a percentage off if that's really going to contribute and make it an easier yes, because I'm aware like people are choosing this to make it their lives easier. If they're, bleeding out all their funds to show up, that isn't going to allow for a, fruitful integration if they're stressing. So, I want to make it easy for people to choose, but at the same regard also like hold us high that we can all, thrive and choose these amazing things with ease to support us. And if that's not available, what would it take to allow that to be available too?
What would help in the efforts towards moving legislation forward and stuff? Is there anywhere we can go for that kind of information?
Yeah, I can give you a link. I have a friend, she's working on that, so I can offer that
That'd be
information.
great.
Yeah.
And is it federal or New York?
Yeah, she's a nurse practitioner and she's been supporting a lot of those initiatives. She's a badass. So she's very excited about it. And her and I have talked over the past year or so. And yeah, there's another group I just did a speaking event at. They're also looking to raise money for people too, and so sponsor things like that. So I can give that contact as well. I don't know them off the top of my head.
Yeah, we'd like to get involved. My therapist, the one that I first ran into integration with, I don't know, maybe it was 4 years ago now. It was just pre-pandemic. Thank God. But Julie Barron, she's basically the matriarch for psilocybin. That's her big thing. But she's the one who pushed the decriminalized Michigan. So we try to be involved with that as much as possible too. And so anything that we can do, that's what this page is for. And now that the brains of the operation is here, and she's going to be taking out the technical lack of technical prowess on my end, we're going to get more active and pushing these things and providing resources for people on a more consistent basis to get involved or to seek help, or to, there's people I know that would contribute to a family member that they think can benefit from this, and that kind of thing. And maybe there's times where we could match a donation or match somebody's call for help and help them get into a retreat, that kind of thing.
Buy a seat.
Michigan, it's coming up. So let's talk about that, because I really want to. We got 3 more weeks before the retreat.
Yeah, maybe a little less, but something like that.
Yeah. How many spots are left right now?
I would say I think we're about half at capacity. So
Okay.
yeah, we got
So anybody who wants to, that's tuning in or will tune in. A lot of times it takes about a week to get the amount of viewers that we get. So anybody that's listening or will listen, we posted your information. I plan on being there. That's the plan right now. I don't know if Amber can be, but I would like to be there for this one. And there's some people in Michigan that I know would like to come too, but I just want them to know that we're on a time crunch right now. We have about 3 weeks. You're about half capacity.
Yeah. If you're interested, ask your questions. Don't delay.
Yeah, it's good even just so we can be on your radar. And then I like to have a little bit of time because I will be doing a psych consult with everybody as well. So we do a lot of preparation, really wanting everyone to get the most out of the experience, aware that a lot of the preparation leading into the experience is really going to support the journey, and then also aware of post-care after the experience. So yeah, if you're even just like marginally curious or have someone that you think might be interested too, that you want to reach out to us on their behalf, feel free to just, pop, either you can send us an email at info@florestaretreat.com, which is on the website too, or book that 10-15 minute exploratory call just to say hi so that you are on our radar.
Great idea. Yeah. I remember our first call fondly, actually, now that you
Mhm.
mention it.
It took us forever to get on those calls.
I know.
We're all so busy.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Busy
we made it happen today. So I'm very grateful, very happy about that. And I look forward to seeing you again soon, Shannon.
And I know Eugene's going to be jumping on soon, so we're not kicking you off. So don't think we're
No,
kicking
no.
you. Anything else
good.
that you?
No.
I know you don't have such a hard stop now, but if you have anything else you want to share about the event itself, anybody who's got questions for me or Amber directly, we can attest to the event. We went there and it was cathartic. We're in that space. We say we're performing multi-dimensional alchemy. So we step into this space easily and we come back and we're really heavy on integrating what we learn in the more free space into our relationship, into our surroundings. So set and setting, when we're driving out there, we're already in the space. Like our mind is already there, no matter what kind of craziness life presents us. We're in that space and we're willingly stepping into the unknown because we don't know 100% where it's going to take us. But even, and Amber on the way out there, she's talking about she saw a dragon. She said she thought that we're driving and we're tired, and she said you want to share that story?
So this is before we got to the retreat.
Before ketamine in her life.
So yeah, I don't so as Vince mentioned, I have a propensity to I welcome, I don't know,
somebody might call it woo woo. It's not. It's
well,
signal.
No, but like even like you talk about waves, not visions of things, but like to see sound waves or light waves or things in that may not be concretely available. Anyway, I don't see why this is relevant.
It is relevant because I'm going to tell her.
We were on the way there. So you're saying we open up ourselves to that space, which is why we're available to maybe speak if anyone's interested before getting, moving forward. But yes, we were on the highway and I think somebody cut us off drastically or something. And I said, I think we just skipped the timeline or something. And that was a dragon. And then we got to I'm curtailing the story a lot. Yeah. But then we got to the retreat in the Catskills, and that river was guarded by a dragon, according to the Dalai Lama.
To the Dalai Lama, and we're like, holy shit! So, excuse my language. But that was just a comment on set and setting and having the mindset going in, and if you go in with with deep fear, deep surrender is different than deep fear, right? Deep fear, you're still wanting to control your environment. You're fearful. You're blocked. If you go on with deep surrender, that means, well, I have faith that whatever happens will probably be for my best good, even if it's not that comfortable. So that mindset going in is massive. And that I just wanted to comment. I really wanted to put you on the spot about the dragon thing, because I think it's awesome. It's for us to show up there and have that comment made. That's the kind of things that
finally found someone who doesn't think I'm crazy.
No, I thought I was like, oh yeah, we probably did.
I love it.
We probably did. Yeah, I don't know where you were, but I understand it. And you just saw different. All things happen at all times. Time. I start going into this commentary on time is a man-made construct and it's not linear, and you know what I mean. So anyway, I'm excited for the Michigan retreat because as much as I think I know about things and as much as I've experienced personally with this substance itself and with psychic integration now, I still don't know what might be revealed to me now, more so through sitting with other people, right? Like that's the big thing, the integration part with other people, the communal part, which you don't have. As you know, if you come to the therapist, like when I would go to the therapist here, I got to get an Uber home, right? And I'm still in this mind space, and now I'm, now the guardianship is gone. I'm not protected any longer. So now I have to start bringing back up the ego so that okay, the Uber, so I can communicate with the Uber driver. I can do, you know what I mean? It's not the same as sitting in that space with others and sharing, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, really looking to allow for a gentle space with that. And then we'll add one other piece with the way that we also offer indigenous medicines too, the hape and sananga. So I won't go too into detail. You can Google it if you're interested. We love to really pull from that ceremonial community energetic space and allow that to be a contribution as well. So not only are we working with the Western medicine and the Western therapeutic modalities, but it's also really taking a global approach and allowing us to be informed by lots of different healing modalities to really optimize the experience throughout the
How did-
retreat. Mhm.
How did it go with Soul Tribe at the Michigan, the 1 day thing? The ketamine, because that was a real integration, right? With the hape and so the errands basically.
Yeah. Is this a specific, the one the pop-up that I did a little bit?
Yeah, the pop-up.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Was
I
it?
would say though, for people that did choose to work with hape, which is a tobacco snuff directly after ketamine, a lot of people did have more nausea, which makes
Not a
sense.
fan myself.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
why I like to create a lot of space between, and typically we'll do it on the next day. But I've had this way of creating with our retreats for all of them, and people have really found it to be this grounding, expansive experience, while it's also allowing the body to participate, where ketamine is moving out of the body. So it's a different energy, a different medicine. I find it really rounds out the entire experience and is something unique that Floresta does offer.
Okay.
I'll have to remember that next time.
Yeah, I do all the medicine.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Of course.
Well, again, is there anything you want to touch on?
I think that's great. Reach out. Always happy to chat. Super excited to be doing our first full Michigan retreat.
I'm
This will
excited
be
for that too.
our first here, and hopefully, we'll be one of many.
Can you remind us of the location?
Yes, I believe it's called Highland. I haven't been there, so I'm excited. I've heard amazing things. Highland, Michigan, and it's called
Close.
Red Poppy Center for Wellness,
Yeah.
something like that. Something like that.
Is that a Native American? I think they have a sweat lodge there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, possibly. I will learn more when I get there early and assess the grounds, but I've heard amazing things. I know friends that have facilitated retreats there. So yeah, we'll enjoy. It'll be fun for me too to also have a new space to play with.
Well, we'll try to if you can, we'll get you back on before and maybe a week before, right
Sure.
after.
I was thinking it might be nice too if we can even have a format where people can either ask questions ahead of time and I can answer them, or if we want to have space for people where they can also come in and I can directly answer. Happy to answer things in real time too.
We can set that up. Well,
Yeah.
she can set that up. She can set there's always people that I get to like a week after. And that's not always not valuable oftentimes. So so thank you for volunteering that. And anybody who's watching and will watch, they'll hear that, and I'm sure that'll to hear it's directly from you rather than that's huge.
Well, it's incredibly valuable, similar to how the circles are valuable to understanding a variety of experiences and enrich that also, how we perceive them. Sometimes we don't even know what questions we have until we hear someone else ask them.
Totally.
So hosting maybe a session like this with a live question and answer session would be really beneficial. And if you have a question, message or leave a message for us, and we'll add it to the group, and we'll send you an invitation.
All right. Well, loved having you on. Love seeing you again.
You excited to see you soon in person, hopefully both of you.
Yep. And then I know we have Eugene coming on sometime soon, so we're gonna we're going to talk about our personal experience there, and then we'll stay in contact, and we'll we'll set something up to where it's more Q&A, and people that have genuine questions about potentially attending and what they might be able to expect. To hear it from you would be huge. So we'll get to work on setting that up.
Yeah. And if you're listening or watching to this now, go ahead and leave your question in the chat if you prefer. We'll be watching for that too.
Appreciate it, Shannon.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for showing up.
Of course.
Talk to
Bye-bye.
you soon. So now we're gonna wait for Eugene to get here. He might be lingering. He's not lingering. So
Oh, we get them separately.
yeah.
that.
He was down until 2:10. He was specific too. Let me text him and see where he is. So what are your thoughts on your experience in particular, just you individually? And I know, and I'm only asking because we're here, but I don't know in particular. I mean, we like you said, I'm real quick to share my experience, and I'm an extreme person. I go to extremes quickly. I bounce in and out of them fairly effortlessly. It may not appear effortlessly, but for me, it's like, oh, I'm here, now I'm there, and that's not what everybody's looking for.
Right.
That can be quite scary for a lot of people.
I think your experience is representative also to a degree of the kind of person you are,
Well,
or how you live out
I
your
know how to
life
take that,
on the regular basis. No, but you manage a lot of stuff on a constant basis. You're juggling. And it's not just juggling like the average person. You're kind of like, let me just throw some fire on these balls and then toss them up against the wall and see if they ricochet back. You constant go.
Yeah,
and so I think
that's representative.
The challenges that you might face in surrender are going to be different, because you're I wouldn't say you're a controlling person, but you're a driver's seat person, which is a slightly different.
Things don't happen to me.
Yeah,
They
right.
happen for me. But I'm big on manifestation.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, but it's also there's a lot of action.
Yeah.
The surrender aspect is more allowing, which is why I really like that word. Or you allow things to be revealed to you rather than uncovering them yourself. It's almost like so the things that we aren't necessarily seeing, not because we choose to see or not see, because there's parts of we have limiting beliefs or things like that in our conscious mind. But then what is our, like, all of that we talk about psychotherapy and all that subconscious stuff that we are struggling for and against constantly, right? Some of that stuff is buried or just not seen. Like some of it's more passive and more active from our subconscious point of view. So for me, I'm very much like I grew to love and enjoy being emotional as an adult. Didn't have that as a kid, or even as a young adult so much. Joyful, sure, but I didn't understand the full breadth of emotion that was available to me, and really enjoyed that over the course of my 30s or so, for better or for worse. And then going to something like this, where it allowed me to sink in even more into, oh shit, is that okay? There's
you've seen the show.
I know, it's more of a joke. There's more.
How do you think we met?
There's a deeper place that I can go, and yes, I want to go. I'm inviting that part of myself to emerge, and there's something very exciting about that. There's something very exciting about not knowing. Like if psychedelic experiences are so vast, and I haven't had all of them, so I don't even know, but what I can say just from like even one experience, it changes constantly. So if you're trying to control that, you're not going to get the best out of it, right? If you're trying to like, oh well, but then
no, that's where bad trips come from.
Right. But then you can also, and this is just, I'm not like, this is, the questions are rising now as we speak. I would love to learn more about this, is like the way you do lucid dreaming, and you can sort of do conscious dreaming. So in a psychedelic realm, I'd like to learn more about, like, can you, or to what degree is it beneficial, and when you can maneuver inside of that space as well. I'm sure it's feasible.
I do it.
Yeah.
You see me
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Like and that's for anybody who has a lot of experience with psychedelics, but ketamine in particular, I found, because ketamine was the only one that it could be, if you surrendered, you could, like a lucid dream, you can't control the lucid dream. You can only control your responses to what's happening in the lucid dream. So ketamine is going to show you parts of your subconscious that you haven't had access to your entire life. And all you can do is respond to what it's given you in the moment. So once you learn to do that, which I've learned to do that now, almost always when I go in, I'm playing to a certain extent. I've learned that don't take it so serious. It's very serious what's happening, but you have to give over to the playfulness of the universe, you know, whether you call it God or the universe or the Big Bang or however we got here, whatever you think our beginning is, whatever you think the creator is, whether we're worm food in the, you can be an atheist, whatever. There's an origin point, at least as far as we can perceive. And within that origin point, there's a lot of things to navigate that our egos can't possibly put into words. They just can't. We can't even perceive the fourth dimension, like space-time. That's hard for the average mind. You need an Einstein to do that. And for us to say that we know what God is, or the origin point, or every little, so it shows it to us in dream fashion. Like that was one of Freud's big things.
I do think I'm glad that Shannon brought up the aspect of bringing the body into the equation on the last day, because that is a different experience where you're not. Previously, I had sort of been given this idea that like a psychedelic experience was all about visions, and I wouldn't characterize it that way. It's visual, but it's not visions, and it's not visual for everybody either, from what I understand.
No,
but it's a way to displace yourself inside of your own consciousness, which is the greater consciousness as well. Like you're able to move freely about the cabin, so to speak.
Yeah, freely about the cabin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm paying
okay.
attention to what you're saying. Eugene's trying to get in here.
So that's if you're able to let go that way, it's not like, oh, it's a cool experience where you just get to see cool shit.
With LSD is more likely you're going to get that it's a visual, more of a visual experience,
which can still have that
huge benefits,
impact, right? Benefits, but they all have their own. In fact, that documentary series you talked about, each episode has its own focus.
MDMA,
so you can learn about each of them. So I'm still watching them.
It's a great series, by the way, Michael Pollan. It's the fact that it exists and still exists, and we can still go to it. The message in there of what it is to break through consciousness and to think for yourself. That shows that that America, with all of its issues, it's still pretty free, because that right there, like, try pushing that through in the 60s. I mean, this is where the war on drug comes from. This is I highly recommend it. It was an amazing series, and it's still on there, and it's still being built, because he's going to try other things.
I think that the general increased over time interest in alternative ways of even approaching thought, you know, the way that we have even someone like we have Stephen Kotler, we have all of these like great people on the what am I trying to say, on the stage, on the entrepreneurial stage, right, who gain a lot of respect for their ability to work with, to do business and to generate wealth and to gain incredible followings through, you know, thought that's grounded in research and grounded in, you know, time-honored traditions and business. And those people are also interested and seriously bringing light to things like this, as much as, you know, Mike Tyson and Joe Rogan. So
Yeah.
like there's a certain mainstream quality that's being brought to these things that it allows us to have these conversations. And I think you put me on the spot with the whole drag thing, but I think there's a reticence to say things that you might experience or see because it's not yet common. So you're like,
you don't want to be called crazy.
How's that going to sound to you, right? How's it going to sound to someone else? And you don't want to be that person, that crazy person or whatever. But when you're in a circle of others who have now at the same time experienced something and it's being delivered in a way that's it's not like an anarchic, like we'll see and, you know, hope for the best kind of situation. Like it's definitely being nurtured, and the dosage, like all of that stuff is we have nurses on site. All of that for a lot of people is going to help them bring down their walls, properly surrender to the experience, feel safe, and then allow the experience to actually take place, ideally.
And here comes, and that's what you've said is key, because Michael Pollan, when he touches on guardianship, it's when you're going through things. We got Eugene on here. We'll wait for him to free up the mic, but when you're going through things, the last thing you want to be called is crazy. You know what I mean? You don't want to be judged. So when you go into a space like this and you have other people around you where you can talk about, I saw this vision of my dad or this, and nobody's going to be like, you crazy son of a bitch. That's just the drugs talking. You know, hey, Eugene, how's it going? Hey, that's just the drugs talking. No, it's not. No, I've just, all that did was open me up to something I've been blocked from my entire life. Right. Hey, man, how's it going?
Well, hey, brother.
Hey, one second. So often we're not saying what we were experiencing beforehand. I was in a hurt place. I was depressed. I was, you know, I was denying all of that. So now this is actually just the other side of it, of the experience. Hi, Eugene.
Good to see you.
Hey, Vince. Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
sorry, my voice is a little hoarse. I don't know what happened. I mean, I gotten too excited and talked too much.
Yeah, he was saying he's. I said you should see me fumble around for the first 10 minutes trying to set up the tech on this stuff. The cough's not going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Well, thanks for having me. Good to be here and good to see you guys. Excited for the retreat coming up and super excited to see both of you. Yeah. How are you two? How are you two doing?
We're good. We're good. I mean, it's perpetual growth. You know what I mean? Like we made a commitment before we ever had physical contact with each other. That's what we were about. And it hasn't stopped. So it's a, you know, we're growing according to Moore's law. You know, Moore's law says every 18 to 24 months, civilization now takes a quantum leap into a new form of existence. Civilization, that's how we grow now. It's as opposed to every 100 years prior to the Industrial Revolution and so our relationship is we call it transcendental alchemy. Multidimensional alchemy, because what ketamine and other experiences has done, ayahuasca and whatever, it's opened us up to these other realms. But now we're really working on integrating that back into our space and communicating it. We were just talking about how you can communicate these things without seeming like you're crazy to somebody who hasn't had the experience. Like if you talk about what you do, holistic healer. What does that mean to somebody who doesn't know what that means, right? Somebody who's hurting, who wants to judge it because nothing's worked for them. So, you're just, you know what I mean? Like it's a tough space to be in especially when you know what it works, and it works better than medicine. You know what I mean? Than traditional Western medicine.
Yeah, you know, and I'm not going to say one works better than the other, honestly, because I think there's a place for both. You know, there's a lot of things in Western medicine that work really well, including ketamine, right? Because it's Western medicine, right?
Western medicine.
And then there's a lot from the East in Chinese medicine and Indian medicine that like, work really well too. That when it comes to, you broke your bone or a bone is sticking out of your leg and you need surgery, I'm happy that they're there. So to fix me up. But there are some things that, that I think that are missing. First of all, like, I think one of the biggest things is the element of spirit has kind of been eliminated from a lot of Western medicine, which is hard for me, because when you really look at like hospitals everywhere, they have synagogues and churches inside of the hospital, yet they're saying that that's not existent. So it's a strange thing that happens there. But there's a lot that comes into play when it comes to medicine and spirit, and like connecting to the divine, and also the quantum field too, like what's possible outside of our like physical reality. So one thing I want to talk about, which is kind of cool, that we do at our retreat, which is our traditional Chinese medicine session, which is something I studied with Tom Tam at the Oriental Culture Institute in Boston. It's called Tong Ren, and it's a healing modality that works through the quantum field, through the collective unconsciousness. And it works by opening up blockages in the central nervous system through working with some tools. And it's kind of like air acupuncture. It's something that's very kind of strange for most people when they first see it. I think it's the closest related thing that you could see is what most people like see is like Reiki, if you've heard of that. It's very popular, but Tong Ren works in a little bit a different way. So we have a session during our retreat where we settle down and do like a healing meditation with Tong Ren, and it can be powerful. Like sometimes you feel tingling in your face or in your body, heat moving around and energy moving around. And it can really help to move energy, but also unstuck and unblock blockages that, may be occurring in the back of our head or in our spine that cause, ouch points, pain, and also, the lack of flow of energy, of chi, which can really stem and like correlate to everything when it comes to like our physical health, but especially our mental health. But back to what you said about like, like the healing modality, or being like a holistic healer, like look at the word like whole, right? Like something that's encompassing everything and not just one thing, not looking like what's considered in America as like allopathic medicine, looking at like the problem and trying to like fix the problem. Like there's a cut and we're putting a Band-Aid on it, right? Versus like what else is that's causing? Well, maybe that cut's being caused by, there's abrasive material that keeps hitting that part of the body or whatever, so like not just looking at the problem, but looking at, where does this come from and how can we heal that? So, or how can we heal the body or the mind? So then the other things stem from that. And that's kind of the principle behind Tong Ren and holistic healing, I think, is being able to heal the system, because our system is so intelligent that if we allow it to function, then everything kind of comes to homeostasis and can really like regenerate itself. And I think that's another thing that stems in like why mental health is so important, why we do what we do with ketamine therapy, because if you're depressed, if you're anxious, or if you have, trauma that's holding you back, it's hard for things to even out, right? It's hard for homeostasis. Yeah, most of the time it's impossible and it's chaotic. And then how can things heal and how can things fix, or how can things become normalized if it's chaotic, if it's, so that's I think, I hope that wasn't too much of a long-winded answer, but
that's the truth, because prior to ketamine, and I credit ketamine with saving my life, because not because it did anything per se, it just opened me up to neural pathways that were blocked and had been blocked my entire life. The unconditional love of my son was what I hadn't felt. So once I felt that, it was the deepest truth I'd ever felt. And I just knew it instinctively. Like there was no amount of training that I'd ever had in my life that said that I should be meditating, because I shouldn't be. I have other shit. You got shit to do. Get on with your life. Quit sitting in a corner, and you know what I mean? Sure. And I wasn't good at it immediately. So you suck. So don't do it. Because you got this disease of perfectionism. I had all this clutter, right? And until my neural pathways were opened up to be able to receive what the universe just has there naturally for you, there was no hope for me. Like I was done. I was done for. Like I didn't care if I died. I didn't want to die, but I would have preferred to have gone out in a blaze of glory. Like my whole thing was James Dean's live fast, die young, have a good looking corpse. I thought for sure I'm dead by 25. I'm moving out to Hollywood. I'm doing this, this, and this. And I don't want to be a dad. I don't want to be a dad. None of that shit was relevant to me but I didn't realize how flawed and how disconnected I was, and how that was a defense mechanism, right, to keep me safe from the trauma I'd endured as a child. And this was the thing. So I'm real interested in this because I'm not familiar with that process. Because when I read Body Keeps the Score, I realized, like, when I go into this psychedelic state through ketamine, I'm very comfortable in the realm of consciousness in that regard, in no mind, even like slipping into this space and slipping back, my body tenses up. So I've watched the videos of me in this state, and my body's still keeping the score, right? So there's things that I need to modalities that I would like to tap into myself, to where I can start to even the score a little bit, like, because I'm good consciously, but the body will push that shit. You know, I mean, when in conflict mode, tense up. Now you can't access your neocortex, right? You're blocked off from everything. You're in fight or flight, and no matter how much you know, you can't think your way out of a problem. And that's why, and what you guys are doing with implementing body practices with the state of exiting the body and going into pure consciousness through ketamine is massive. And then having other people there to talk about it is the next component that is truly massive to me.
Totally. Yeah. And you know, that's, you know, so that's, you know, you can go to a lot of clinics, right? There's plenty of clinics in Michigan or in New York that offer ketamine therapy. And the reason we do it this way is because we think like, what would we want to go to ourselves, first of all, because we're ketamine patients ourselves, and it's been profound for us. But also, like, how can we add this much more to it? Like, what can we fill in that would really make it full circle? And the reason we try to be away from our lives for 3 days, right? To be in nature, kind of away from the stress of our families and our work, and really be able to, like, create a safe container to go deep and surrender to the medicine, and then be able to have the time and space to unpack those sessions and really be able to talk about it in those integration circles, which is super powerful. I mean, it's huge, right? It's like, I've talked to people who've had IV treatments and have come to our retreat, afterwards, and said that gave them like 10 times more what they got, than just going to a clinic, which was really special to me. But on top of it, like, when we're in that heightened state of neuroplasticity, to be able to, like you were saying, we work with our bodies, like do yoga practice, work with meditation or breath work or this traditional Chinese medicine, or go outside and spend time in nature. When we're combining these practices, when we're in that heightened state of neuroplasticity, it's more likely that they're going to stick and imprint. So that way, when we move forward in our life after an experience like this, we use these tools for integration, even outside of the ketamine, right? Because taking the medicine is 30%, just 30%, 70% is the integration, how we show up after, so we built it to be, that, so we could really, improve and see the greater version of ourselves, right? So that we can come into the retreat, push the reset button, and move forward in our life in a really, like, positive and motivated way. So we're renewed, and when it helps with our symptoms.
It's smart.
Yeah.
It's smart because as logically as I approached, I knew I could inspire people with my words, and I could tell them through an fMRI, what those readings did. I could explain to them the physiology of meditation. I knew that it was good for me. I knew that, but I couldn't sit in a room by myself and be flawed at this practice that I knew nothing about. I couldn't practice by myself because I was the perfectionism, the control mechanism so until I opened up, I had to open up first. Then I could actually receive. Then I could feel viscerally what that did for me. Like, and then it kind of, I had to, for me, with my PTSD, the emotional flashbacks, I would go on these benders that were insane, almost suicidal. But I didn't want to die. But what I realized I was doing in retrospect was I was beating my ego into submission to where I had nothing to stand on ego wise anymore. And then the 3 days after one of these incidents, I would be more in touch with myself than I'd ever been in my life. And lo and behold, that's what ketamine did for me. When I first had the out of body experience, there was no ego left. So I didn't have logic to number one, talk me out of why I shouldn't do this because I'm not perfect at it right off the rip. You know what I mean? But I also didn't have the ego to stand on. It was just me kind of bearing my soul to whatever the universe was at the time. And I could really start to unpack who I was and what the world meant to me and what I was getting from my son and all of that. And even in relationships now, without that, I was so controlled and so like just defensive that I couldn't experience that. It wasn't possible for me. And it might have taken a near-death experience of actually getting hit by a car, something like that, to where everything just crumbles and then you're left with no choice. So that's what that did for me. And it was a choice that I made to where I was just telling Shannon, I didn't care if I died. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to die, but I wasn't going to live that way anymore. So I was kind of already dead in my head. Like I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to be this for my son. So I surrendered to the possibility that, well, if this ain't the way, then there's no way. And through that surrender, I was able to experience life in a new way. And I think it's a beautiful thing that that ketamine can do that, but then to use the softening of those defense mechanisms and integrate these practices while softened in that way, genius. And the fact that well, I think it'll catch up. I think Western medicine, I think it has to catch up. I think people have been crying out for more for a long time. And the fact that you guys are able to do it now and it's legal. When I had first experienced it, it was illegal. I couldn't even talk about it because I was crazy, right? Like that's just crazy. The drugs did it. No, it did not. I knew it didn't, but now there's retreats like yours where you sit with people and you do it, and then you talk about it. You're like, oh, you too? And they're from a completely different walk of life with completely different problems, right? But there's this unifying factor that makes you feel protected in sharing, and it's massive. And then to spring that on somebody when they're in a heightened state of awareness, be all end all as far as I'm concerned.
And just a little bit to add on that really quickly is that it offers a sense of belonging that everybody craves, and you belong now in a sense in a place that's otherworldly,
connected,
so hyper connected, and
Totally.
that you can walk away and never lose that sense, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks for saying that, Amra. Like, I think that's like one of the most common things that I hear. I mean, I've facilitated, at this point, probably 1,000 or more people working with ketamine through my work with Mind Bloom and also working with Floresta. And it's the one thing I hear most commonly of this feeling of hyperconnectivity, of people like coming out of the session and feeling like, oh man, I need to like call my aunt or call my uncle or brother. I gotta connect with them, and I felt them, and it's like I wonder about that. Like, what are we tapping into there?
We
what
is that? Because you guys do offer these post retreat integration calls as well, which actually doesn't come up in conversation. Are you still offering those?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. So we do right after the retreat, every participant, I do a one-on-one integration Zoom call with them within typically the first 3 days after the retreat, just to check in and kind of unpack something. Because even though it's a group session, sometimes people have things that like they really don't want to share with the whole group, and that's okay too. So I like to really create space for that, to be able to unpack if that's necessary. Also to see like what worked, what didn't, like what was, what were their favorite frames. It's kind of cool to like come back and be one-on-one with our clients and really kind of get their story and give space for that. And then a week after the retreat, we do a group integration Zoom with all of our clients. And every month thereafter, indefinitely, because we're building a community. Like we call this our Floresta family, our medicine family, right? So like we all of our clients indefinitely are welcome to come to all of our integration circles. Every month we have one, and that's free of charge. We just want to keep everybody together and able to, one thing I want to add to that, which is it's super cool because I'm noticing what's happening. Like we have developed not only like people have met people that now they're in romantic relationships they met at the retreat. People have met that they're now like super like best friends. And I was just like 2 or 3 weeks ago, like a whole group of people that went to the retreat, went on a big hike in Appalachian together, and they organized it through the Zoom or through the WhatsApp group that we keep alive for everybody to kind of communicate with. And then just a week before, we were all at the beach together, different group of people from the retreat. Nice. It's cool, like to see these people like have these powerful medicine experiences together, and then now have this new community of people that get them, that want to hang out and like be, in community, which is cool because, we came out of a pandemic, which everybody was, jailed in their house for like a year and a half, which was super weird. We didn't choose it. And now like, it makes me feel really good to give this opportunity for people that like-minded to meet and work with the medicine. And then the people that probably would have never met in person, like all walks of life, younger, older, we've served, 86-year-olds up to 91-year-olds with ketamine, and white, black, gay, straight, Asian, whatever, everybody comes. And it's so cool to see that melting pot, but then people to like really, I don't know, like get kind of cuddly, not like in a literal sense, but just, feel that. And it's a
walls
joy.
come down, right? Walls come down. and that sense of belonging, I think, is also part of, like, we're so used to having like our professional sphere, and then our family sphere, and then our personal sphere, and then we have to protect this, so we can only say certain things in certain company. And so the for something that's so precious and so profound, to be in the company of curious healing seeker people, that's beautiful.
Totally.
Well,
I want to say it's so funny because, like, we talk about these integration circles, but like the entire weekend's an integration circle. Like it starts. Okay, so like when we come in, it's kind of awkward. Nobody knows each other. But once we, once we go into a medicine session, we do a meditation, we introduce, and we get accustomed. And then we go into the medicine session. But like right after that, it's just, like you were saying, walls and barriers start coming down, and we get to eat together, and that starts happening organically. And then throughout the weekend, every session is just everybody kind of melting together and talking and unpacking. And there's so much that happens there, just on its own, outside of like the formal integration circle.
That's the thing. That really is the thing, because I've done the the therapist thing here, where now I have to wait out in the lobby from the Zoom, or not the Zoom, but the Uber, right?
Yeah.
And that detracts, right? Because now the guardianship, the protected space that I was in, where I'm speaking with somebody who's been trained in psychedelic integration, and we're sharing ideas. Now, I'm in an Uber, and after the pandemic, now I'm wearing a mask, and I got to be, you know what I mean? It just, I'm not saying it took away completely, but it didn't allow me to linger in that space and really tap into something that a lot of times I don't have access to. I can access it now more regularly, but to be able to sit there and then share it with people that aren't like you, because what I saw, there were very few people that we would have met in our daily life. And like you said, all different age ranges, and from different professions, from all over the country. And it was that alone, that community, that sense of guardianship, that sense of feeling safe, and that sense of, after you step out of your senses, and maybe you go to the full psychedelic experience, where it's, for me, the near-death experience, to where you live through that, and now you come back, there's this whole new sense of what reality is, right? Like this it's like getting into an accident, and I know this is harsh for some people, but for me, like, I needed to experience that I can live through something that I was so deathly afraid of, because I wanted to control my environment, that when I come back, it's an immediate opening of that neural pathway, that fear pathway, to where, oh, I might have been wrong about everything. Most of the things I was doing in life, like, it's not that I knew anything new. It's that I knew that I was wrong about some of the ways that I was living. I didn't know why. I didn't have an education on it. I just knew that there's got to be a different way. In sharing that, I was by myself. I was crazy if I talked about it. It was, oh, that's a club drug, right? You know what I mean? It's so far from that. But anyway.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's sad to me that that the medicine is abused in that way, because I really just don't think it's like a party medicine. I think it's not like
I
it
can't
shouldn't
even
really be done
conceive
even
of
with your
that.
eyes open. Personally, I
It's
think
not.
that
It's
the
stupid.
context we do it is really therapeutic, and actually like I think when people have it in the right context, it actually, like, people have it and then they like have their deep sessions and then they even want to abstain from it, right? Like, it's not like an addicting thing. It's like something we do our deep work and then we pause, right? Um, and I kind of wanted to mention, like, you know, you had talked about the near death experience to the listeners that might be a little like weirded out by that. So like, so to clarify, like, that's something that would come at like a very high dose. And for somebody who's maybe more experienced or like wants to go through that, like, we take people in stages. So like typically we start people off a little bit lighter to dip their toes in, to kind of meet the medicine and experience. It'll still be very profound, but typically like very warm, loving, gentle, like being like held or swaddled and not scary. And we move up from there based on their experience. But typically we don't really like see that too much, like the near death
You can speak
experience
on that.
during the retreats.
I was like, no, give it to me. And she's like, no, give me 0.7. I'll take half of that.
Yeah.
And it was very
more
cuddly
like,
for her. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, I'm here.
more like just floating through the universe, or floating through beautiful tunnels of color, and, you know, being one with the universe, or having this just mystical, spiritual type, like, incredible experience. That's just super loving, and like you were saying before, hyper connected.
You know, it almost makes me think of that Bruce Lee quote, be like water, or be water.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the closest thing to actually being water, I think.
I hear that a lot with clients, that they actually feel like they're underwater, and like, actually it was really,
you're in flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Not even a water, not even like an aqua experience, but just the flow of it.
Whoa, you know.
You know, like,
Can
what
I say
must it
something
be to
funny?
feel like I'm water? I'm a water molecule. Just
Can I say something funny? A client of mine, the other day, I was doing a Zoom call with them. It was just a great story. She's like, so I was underground, and then I was swimming through water, and all of a sudden I turned into like a firework flame ball that then turned into a large catfish, and swam through the water and jumped jumped in the outside of the water, like Free Willy, and then it froze there for a while.
That's awesome.
And it became
really
like
cool.
became this like crystalline ball, and I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. But it sounded really epic.
But you know, I get. So now when I go in, it's like a lucid dream. So I don't know what to expect. I just give over to whatever the experience is. I set my intention, which is typically, I don't want to be blocked. So whatever you need to provide me, I'm speaking to the universe, give it to me, and I will. So it's like a lucid dream now, to where there's times where I'll hit this brick wall, sometimes literally, and then I'll turn into this Terminator. Remember the ooze, and then I'll ooze my way through the wall. Like, I'm always finding my way through blocks in this space, and it's become more playful now, to where I might see a vision of my dad or whatever. There might be some returning trauma, and then I can turn it into a dance. Like I did it. I think I was telling you the one time. No, it was with my therapist. I saw his face rotating around, and it was mean and grimacing. And then all of a sudden I turned it into a dance through the trees, and the trees turned into this flame, but it wasn't. So those things happen. And I've noticed that they happen with more experience, because at first I was petrified, right? I was being ripped out of my senses, but now, because that doesn't really happen now. I've had that. That's been profound. I don't need to go back to that space ever again. Don't know that I can, because it was so profound. So I've lived with it. Like, it's never changed for me. My thinking has forever been changed, but now it is more of the, well, it's a meditation, you know, it's an act of meditation, to where I just open myself up to the universe. I may be blocked from the day or from the month prior, to where I'm just not able to sit in that space and meditate and concentrate. It does it for me. And it is a beautiful experience now, to where it just opens me up. It really, that's all it does. And what does it do, right? It blocks the glutamate receptors. That's all it really does. It's all, it doesn't do anything but block glutamate receptors. It doesn't create visuals. It doesn't do any of that. It just opens you up to consciousness that you already have. So it's not so abrupt in drastic for me. It's not at all that. It's a kind of a coddling, a session with the universe that says it's all right. It's all right. No matter what happened, no matter what I get shown in that space, no, it's good. You'll be all right. Just you find your way through. Be like water,
And every session,
or the catfish.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because every session is going to be different, and sometimes you get these like major downloads or big insights, and sometimes it's just like a beautiful vacation from our reality, and both is okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sometimes you come home and you're building a pool in your backyard all of a sudden for no reason. That's possible too. The true thing. It happened.
It's being filled right now.
Nice. We're going swimming soon.
Be like water. Maybe that's why they came to mind.
Oh well. Well, I want to get you guys on before this next retreat. I'd like to get some of the community that I know that really haven't, some couldn't go out to New York.
Sure.
I'd like
you
to
guys
get
announced
whoever.
dates. You told your folks about the dates or what's happening.
Yeah. And we just started posting today. But I'd like to get you guys on maybe a week prior. Shannon had a good idea about getting some people with questions. Now that we have the tech maven here, because I just talk. That's all I do. She can set it up to where we can get Q&A.
Awesome.
Get you guys in a more of a not one-on-one
interactive space.
Interactive space.
I'm open to it.
People have listened enough now that I think some people might have some burning questions that we can discuss and have it not just be our experience coming to the table.
The two people I told you about, I invited them to this individually. Those are two people that I know, Brandon and I'm gonna show. I'm not saying their last names, but Brandon and Patrick. They're definitely interested and have asked about it. So, but we'll just keep pushing it and not pushing it. We're gonna offer it up and say, hey, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to this new modality that you're talking about. I think that's huge, and I could probably benefit tremendously from it in that space. But for anybody else, they have access to you and Shannon. And if they want to come through us, we can provide your information.
Please, yeah, we love all, serve all, so we'd love to have you.
What so just in closing, what do you want to say about this event coming up? Is there the modality you spoke about is huge. That to me, it's for somebody who's looking for next level. That's for me a massive thing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. We're going to be in Michigan and Highland, right, at the Red Poppy Center for Renewal. Beautiful, like bed and breakfast nestled in the woods. We're gonna have some time to be in nature. We're gonna have some time to do yoga and meditation, some breath work session, and then work with the medicine, and go deep.
Okay.
And we're not afraid to go deep. So we'll be joining us. Yeah.
No, you're not. No, nor are we. And I'm really looking forward to it. And it's good to see you.
See you, brother.
Outside of the pandemic. And we'll get on this next. When's the next integration call?
Coming up after the next retreat, which will be, I think, like the first of the month.
Okay.
Or something like that. Maybe the 8th. I don't know. I have to look. Sorry, my schedule's wild. I have to look. But
we'll try to be more religious.
July 28th, coming up in New York, in Catskills.
Okay. Oh,
another one there?
Yeah, we have a retreat in the Catskills on the 28th of
same place,
July.
Menla.
No, it's at Yovan, which is like a Ayurvedic health, like a yoga resort. So like really luxurious, beautiful place.
That's on the 28th, you said?
28th through the July 31st, my birthday.
Oh, nice. That's a great way to spend your birthday.
Totally.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
We're gonna share. We already shared the video. We shared. Anything else you can send in our direction to try to promote this? We'd like to get to all you Michigan people listening or who will listen or watching, whatever. We'd like to get you out there for this one so we can share that community coming out.
Totally. Yeah, a lot more good stuff to come. We're doing breathwork retreats too at Menla. We just had one recently. It was really profound. We had some people that had, you know, a lot of like regular psychedelic experiences, said that the breath work was the most profound psychedelic experience they've ever had.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that Russell Brand talks about that too, that next level type.
Yeah, it's a rebirthing technique. We have a teacher, his name Rob Israel, has been teaching breathwork for a long time, and we partner with him. And magical, like visuals, like in with, you know, getting high on your own supply. Some people don't want to work with the medicine, which is totally okay. So we offer psychedelics with without medicine, with the medicine of our breath. So
Nice.
yeah.
Incredible. So just a little question mark at the end. People can now be curious about breathwork and see what comes next.
Yeah, no, that's you guys are doing it all. I appreciate
more to come.
You know how much we appreciate what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I love what you guys are doing too. So thank you for supporting us.
Yeah, no, we support you all the way, and like I said, we'll get you on before, and I'm looking forward to the 12th.
Awesome, man. See you guys soon. Yep.
Good having you on, man.
Bye,
Yep.
G.
Talk soon. Bye.
We'll talk to you later. Bye. I hope you get better soon. Lost him. Anyway, so that's it. We're done. We're done. We're
just getting started.
We're just getting started. Send questions, comments. We can link you up with you have they're on our page anyway, so you can reach out to them directly. They're not a brick wall. They're not these fictitious Deepak Chopra characters that are hard to access and whatever. They're very accessible, and they believe in what they do, and will answer any questions you have. Brandon, Patrick, if you guys are watching this, from the horse's mouth, reach out. But feel free to reach out to us too. We'll link it up and we'll make it happen. But we hope to see everybody on the 12th. We'll have another one of these before the 12th. You have anything?
3 weeks. Yeah, sure. If you're interested and maybe you don't even know what your question would be, but you'd like to maybe just get to the next level of communication, let us know. Just drop a message on the either here on the feed or in Facebook Messenger. We can help out.
And just not personally, because I don't like to be looked at directly in the eyes. So don't. Anyway, it's human condition. We're signing off now. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.